LinkedIn is one of the most underrated platforms at the current moment. And in this video, I'm going to show you my LinkedIn AI content system that allows me to write LinkedIn posts in less than 3 minutes and thus post on LinkedIn consistently without burning out, without spending hours creating content and thinking about what to post on LinkedIn. So, what I'm going to show you is my content funnel, how I come up with content ideas, and more importantly, my voice note to LinkedIn post SOP, which allows me to record a simple voice note into ChatGPT and get a well formatted LinkedIn post out of it. And like I said, everything in less than 3 minutes. I'm going to show you and showcase you every single thing that's out there. We're not gatekeeping here. So, what this basically allowed me to do, and LinkedIn in general has allowed me to sign 7 high-ticket clients for both consulting and strategy, content creators, coaches, consultants, and so on, without having a huge audience. In fact, I only have 2,170 followers. So I know a lot of people, they might be thinking to themselves, well, in order to be successful on LinkedIn, in order to get leads, clients out of LinkedIn, I need to have over 10K, 20K followers. That's simply not true, because keep in mind, the audience on LinkedIn is mostly B2B. There's more trust there and people have more money. Now, to give an example, like these are a couple of messages that I've received in the past 2 weeks of people literally asking me to learn more about the AI side project that I'm working on, which is what I'm showing you right now, plus like someone complimenting a comment that I left under a different post, and telling me that could have used me back when they started with their offer. Would be great to hop on a call. So people asking me to hop on a chat instead of me chasing after them. Plus this one right here asking me for feedback for their current marketing funnel. And they were, I think, a manifestation coach. And this is, of course, crazy because, like I said, I don't have a lot of followers, but still I tend to attract people just simply from posting. But the thing is that it wasn't always like that, right? When I first started posting on LinkedIn, which was a year ago, it took me 2 hours to write one single post. And now I do it in 3 minutes thanks to the system that I've developed. And it doesn't matter if you're a coach, consultant, creator, founder, owner, service provider, doesn't matter who you are. Posting on LinkedIn is probably one of the best things that you can do at this current moment when it comes to attracting clients, attracting leads, and building a personal brand. Now, let's dive straight into my content funnel, which is how I tend to organize my ideas and actually know what type of content to post. So, you've probably heard of the good old marketing terms of, tofu, top of funnel, mofu, middle of funnel, and bofu, which is bottom of funnel. This is something typical that you've probably heard many, many times. And that's in a way how I treat my content on LinkedIn. Um, I have content that's general, personal, and basically these are like lead magnets, right? So these are posts that are guaranteed to get eyeballs. So, what are some things that people like to read? If you talk about your journey, your wins, your failures, people eat that stuff up. I made a post about finally taking some time off, which went really well and actually landed me a client, right? I was talking about taking time off. I wasn't talking about funnels, offers, sales systems, and so on. I was literally talking about taking time off, and this landed me a client. To give you an idea, like this is the post that I made. After 340 days glued to my laptop, I finally took a break. Yes, you read that right. Every single day for over 340 days, I was, I don't know, spending time on my laptop, working on stuff, and so on. Right. So top of funnel content is underrated because this basically makes sure that people relate to you, right? Because we're all humans. There's just so much AI content on LinkedIn at the current moment. So the best thing that you can do is write posts that are relatable. Especially if you talk about failures, people eat that stuff up, trust me. Well, next up, I also have middle of funnel content. So in this case, I'm trying to attract coaches and consultants and content creators who want to launch transformational high ticket offers for their audiences, right? So what I do is I talk a lot about funnels. I talk about using AI to write LinkedIn posts, using AI for generating sales pages, storytelling, and so on. I talk about the creator economy in general and copywriting principles and so on. Just to give an idea, like this is a post that I made the other day where I talked about this AI system that I'm going to show you in a second, which also went really well, got me a lot of people in my DMs because they're interested to learn more about it, right? Literally just attracting people by posting on LinkedIn. in this case, middle of funnel content. And next up, we have bottom of funnel content. In this case, I talk about my own layered access system that I like to implement with my coaching and consultant and content creator clients. I talk about different cases and examples of how I help people achieve their goals. And I talk about building and launching, scaling online offers. So, just to give you an example, in this case, like this post right here didn't do that well in terms of the amount of likes and impressions it got. I think it only got like 200, 300 impressions. So only 200, 300 people saw it. But these are all, most of the times, people that are highly relevant for my offer, right? So these are people that were like, oh, damn, I didn't know that you can use Instagram stories to turn them into client magnets. So, of course, this is a content funnel. So, in the end, every time someone reads a post or sees one of my posts, my content, the content that I create, they either land on my optimized profile or they go straight into my DMs. They read my about section and then they click on a link in my featured section, which directs people to my 5-day offer course, which is a lead magnet. It's a free 5-day email course where I teach them how to build a high ticket offer and launch it sustainably, and more importantly, make sure that it's scalable. So that's literally my flow. And then I book calls thanks to people scheduling their calls directly via LinkedIn, right? So LinkedIn, or like I said, they go into my 5-day email course and then they schedule a call. So that's my content funnel that you can copy paste. Of course, make sure to identify your ideal customer. And based on that, you want to, tailor your middle of funnel and bottom of funnel content accordingly. Top of funnel content is usually the same. Lead magnets, personal stories, general content, right? So always talk about your wins, your failures, your journey so far. This just so underrated, in my opinion. All right, so this is where the sauce comes, and you've probably been waiting for this. My voice note to LinkedIn post SOP. How do I manage to write LinkedIn posts in less than 3 minutes? What I do is I use a custom GPT that I've built myself, and this is how I build it to record voice notes and then get essentially ready-made LinkedIn posts that I can just copy paste into LinkedIn. So first of all, what I did was I created an AI persona document. Go into Notion or Google Doc and write a document that includes all your info. So this is information about where you went to school, your friends, your family, stories, your journey, right? Timeline, information about your business, in-depth analysis of your ideal customer. So you want to do an ICP analysis. Any past posts that you wrote, maybe you were active on X, maybe you create content on um, Instagram, so it knows your tone of voice. And then if you don't have any posts, if you've never posted on LinkedIn, for instance, right, what you can do is you can use post templates. So posts that have performed well in the past for other creators in your niche, you want to make sure that the custom GPT knows how to format it accordingly to add the right amount of white space to make it readable and skimmable, because that's very important. Nobody reads those lengthy essays. I made a video about this topic a couple of months ago on how to write LinkedIn posts that people actually read, because so many people just straight up write essays, or they go into ChatGPT and they're like, write me a LinkedIn post about XYZ. And I'm going to show you an example of a ChatGPT written post, which is just terrible. So next up is creating that custom GPT. Repurpose your voice notes into LinkedIn posts. So make sure to give it specific instructions, like you want to refer to the documents that are attached. Maybe you attach a document that includes 300 different hooks that people have used, or examples of post templates. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that you tell the custom GPT to use maximum of 8 words per sentence, avoid any emojis, avoid hashtags, and break the post up so it's skimmable. After that, you want to use a Notion content system, so you're always on track and you always have content scheduled for the coming week, the coming days, and so on. And what I like to use specifically is the brain dump method. So every time I have an idea, I either dump it into Notion or I record it straight into my custom GPT. But usually, if I use the brain dump method, what I do is I dump an idea into Notion. I look at any notes that I've written that I've added to the idea. Then I record a voice note via the custom GPT, and then it turns it into LinkedIn posts. And now, of course, I'm going to show you everything in a second. So a pro tip here is to always ensure that the output is in Markdown and tell ChatGPT to avoid any bold or italic styling. Because what's going to do is it's going to make your post look like this. This is the most typical ChatGPT generated post. You can see because they copy pasted it from ChatGPT and LinkedIn doesn't support bold or italic styling. What it basically does is it adds these asterisks, which is such a huge pain and a dead giveaway that a post has been written by AI, by ChatGPT in this case. So how does my content system look like? Let me go into my Notion and show you everything. This is my Notion. I call it my LinkedIn Content Hub. And basically, first of all, I always remind myself what I'll be posting about. So in this case, I'm talking about, monetizing your audience, monetizing your content, AI systems for content creators, personal brands, experts, and coaches, resources for coaches and creators looking to build, scale their info products. So all of these things, these are the general topics that I want to post about. So every time I don't have an idea, I literally look at this and I'm like, I always come with an idea that I can use. And then I also have a document which essentially entails my whole content strategy, where I talk about what type of middle of funnel content do I want to talk about. So I go more in depth, right? Then I basically reserve every single week on Friday. That's when I ideate and think about the content that I want to schedule for next week. Maybe I record a couple of voice notes, turn them into LinkedIn posts so that I have them in my Notion. Then I always remind myself of the headline that I have on my LinkedIn, my about section. So I always know what past about sections I've used. And then I have my content system. Like I said, I use the brain dump method. So every time I have an idea, I literally just click on new page and add that idea in. I can either add the hook in, I can also like just say something like post about XYZ. So for example, how I helped Lily build her new coaching program. I want to make a post about this, right? So next up, if I need to create content, I can literally click on this and then record a voice note and turn that into a LinkedIn post. So because of this system right here, I'm able to keep track of everything. And then if I go into my content creation calendar, you can see like the posts that I've created in the past couple of weeks, which are all right here at the current moment. So this is the system that I use inside Notion. Very simple. Every time I have a brain dump and then I'm like, look, I need to record a voice note or I need to write this post, I can then drag it into the to write section. So now I know I need to write this post right here. And then I can record the voice note and maybe I schedule it on LinkedIn. Sometimes I don't schedule it on LinkedIn. I just post. Then I can drag it right in there or into post. As you can see, I've written over 70 posts on LinkedIn, or I posted 70 times on LinkedIn over the past year. So like that's the idea here. This is how I use my Notion for content. So this was my Notion system. Now, the moment you've been waiting for, my custom GPT that allows me to turn my voice notes into fully formatted LinkedIn posts. So I'm just going to show you how it works. I can literally click on this button right here. And basically, I want you to write a post about me using AI to write LinkedIn posts. Of course, as always, follow all of the instructions that I gave you, avoid any bold, italic fonts, and so on, and make sure that you mention that it saves me an hour every single day. I'm not creative at the current moment, so this is just as an example right now. um, but yeah, like you're gonna see this basically going to result in a well-formatted LinkedIn post that's trained on my past data. So I can close this right now, and you can see this is the post that it came up with based on this input right here. Keep in mind that when I record a voice note, I talk for a minute or two, because the more data I give, the better the content is going to be. Because right here, AI hallucinated maybe a little bit, right? And it came up with some content. But as you can see, I can literally click on copy, right? Because the output is in Markdown. And then I can go straight up into LinkedIn and paste it right here. And this is the post. So I'm using the Clio extension so I can see how the post is going to look like on different devices. But you can see the hook is written down properly, right? So we have the 2-line hook. Everything's pretty much here. And the problem with ChatGPT is, and let me go back into ChatGPT and write a new LinkedIn post. So write me a LinkedIn post about using AI for LinkedIn content. If I do that, if I just use the normal ChatGPT, in a lot of In a lot of cases, it gives me an output like this, which is just pure BS. And I'm going to show you why. And I see so many people make this mistake. So if I click on copy now, or if I just do this, right, to try to copy it, and I go back into LinkedIn to paste it in here, right, it's going to either look like this, or if I copy paste it without the formatting applied, like this just doesn't look good because first of all, we don't have the bullet points because LinkedIn doesn't support bullet points, right? So it just looks terrible. You need to like spend a lot of time trying to reformat it. And of course, the length is also not ideal. The white space is not ideal, and it's not trained on the proper data. So this is why I like to use my custom GPT, record a voice note, and transform it into a LinkedIn post. Now, back to my Figma board. This is pretty much it. This is everything I wanted to show you. The system that I use that you can copy paste. Just make sure that you create that AI persona doc, custom GPT. So you would need ChatGPT Premium for that. It's definitely worth it because it just saves you so much time, and you don't need to pay for Taplio, Scribe, and all of these different tools that are out there, because these tools basically charge you like 60, 70 bucks per month, and they're terrible. In a lot of cases, the outputs are still like this, where they have like asterisks and so on. So you want to avoid that. Now, that being said, keep in mind that content is just part of your LinkedIn journey, right? So if you want to get successful on LinkedIn, you also need to engage, comment, connect, and DM, especially if you start right now. You want to make sure that you comment as much as possible and engage because it's a networking platform. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not DMing or connecting a lot at the current moment. I really need to get on that if I want to take LinkedIn more seriously. But I'm still quite happy where I am with LinkedIn, as it allows me to sign clients just by posting. Of course, you also want to nail your strategy, your profile, etc. So that was pretty much it. That was my guide on how I've built my AI content system for LinkedIn that allows me to post in less than 3 minutes. If you found this video helpful in any way, let me know in the comments below. If you have any questions, let me know as well. You can always DM me on Instagram if you have any questions, DM me on LinkedIn, or ask away in the comments. And I'm going to see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching. Cheers. Bye-bye.